We heard first of all from Dennis, who talked about risk being a personal issue, so the presentation title was Risk is Personal. He raised a number of points, for example, where individuals fit into the disaster risk reduction process, what is their role and purpose in achieving resilience. Dennis also talked about the Popular project, discussing external as well as internal influences of risk perception, action, or response of individuals during crises. We skip ahead to the 10 cultural impacts which Dennis talked about. There was a lot of debate as well about the citizen as an object or as a subject in the disaster response. And possibly there's an opportunity to empower citizens to take action on their own and to take responsibility for the risks which they face. The second presentation was from Laura Peterson at TMSC, talking about public expectations of critical infrastructure operators during crises. This is presented as part of the Improver project. The work which she presented was based on a survey which was done, which had 403 responses to that, and asked questions about information provision. Asked questions about expectations of operators which the public which rely on the services that are provided may have. Laura touched on that information provision affects expectations. So if more information is provided by the operators, then you can manage expectations during crises. The tolerances are affected by the demographics. Tied into the first presentation, some of the points which I skipped over, but this actually came up a couple of times, is that the demographics do affect the expectations of the public in response to crises, or what they expect from operators and first responders. Laura showed some results looking at tolerances for interruptions to food and other essential services, potable water and transportation. Disaster and disability in a case study carried out in Istanbul as part of another coordination support action, EduSen. The project has 7 case studies in 7 European cities. And you started off by making the point that training and awareness raises disaster preparedness in communities. And one of the project is looking at working with organizations representing disabled people to adapt the training that's suitable for persons. The outcome of the project so far has been simplification of, for example, pictograms and the addition of sign languages to training material which is available for populations and communities. The final conference of the project will be relatively soon. And one of the outcomes from the concrete outputs from the project will be a handbook taking the best practices from the 7 case studies. And your expectation is that the case studies or the handbook, the use of this will be able to be scaled up and will be applicable elsewhere throughout Europe. Of course, on the scheduled presentations was from Rolf Chudari, is that right?
That's the one.
That's one, yeah, good. You were talking about safeguarding cultural heritage through technical and organizational resource management, introducing the STORM project, which has just started, so you didn't have a lot of results to show us. But you're trying to adapt a disaster risk reduction approach to the protection of cultural heritage. There was some short discussion after this presentation. One of the, I think, most important points which was made after this was about synergies between different projects and different activities which are ongoing in Europe. So, for example, in particular with the STORM project, possible interaction with the DRNKC and JRC to provide a high-level overview of other activities. I think synergies between different projects is something which is, applicable for all of the projects and all of the presentations that were made.
We're at a stage now where in engineering and technical terms, and I'm a fire engineer as well, so I tend to think that way. We have systems of systems or frameworks or defence in depth, those terms that you are hearing, which apply very, very well to physical infrastructure, to technologies and so on. Whereas the areas that I was particularly interested in, where we were talking about the citizen and those, are less defined and less tangible and more difficult to grasp. How do we bring those elements into some sort of frame, into some sort of shape, so that we can start to apply that sort of logic, that sort of understanding. Because if you remember my elephant says there's so much information out there. If you think about the comments on technology and applications and mobile data and big data, there's so many connectivities around. How do we actually shape and frame this to make it really useful to us? Because a lot of the issues that arise in a crisis are social. They're social interactions. If we don't call it culture and we don't call it practice and we don't call it custom and we don't call it risk awareness or whatever, I think we need a new title to it. But I'm very convinced, as the guy from Finland was saying, is there is a paradigm. And the one side of that paradigm is very well organised, and Dana explained it, I think, better than I could. You could see it, it's structured, how you solve the problem, blah, blah, blah. The other side of that paradigm is not so structured. And what I see in behavioural sciences, what I see in the way you get studies and reviews of disasters and so on, when you look at those things, the number of times as civilisations we're getting caught out because we don't seem to have the right frames of reference, it's just too much for where we are now. And yet here we are, sitting with all this knowledge, all this technology, and yet we're still struggling with some of that. And I think it is about getting some sort of frame of reference.